If there is one thing every Indian student understands, it's this. Exams decide futures. And for most young people, getting into a prestigious college is stressful enough without also worrying about what they're allowed to wear once they get there. Because at one of India's oldest and most prestigious colleges, St. Stephen's College in Delhi University, a circular has triggered a full-blown debate. The administration has formally prohibited students from wearing shorts inside the classrooms. Laboratories, libraries, the dining hall, and the chapel, and of course the assembly hall as part of that list. Students turned up on the very first day wearing shorts in protest. They've called it moral policing, an intrusion into personal choice, and a debate that has very little to do with actual education. Now here's where it gets interesting. The college says this isn't really a new rule, because for years wearing shorts in certain formal spaces was discouraged as part of the campus tradition. And the difference is, what was once an unwritten convention has now become that official written regulation. And that changes the conversation altogether, because once a tradition becomes a rule, people begin to ask questions. Can a college tell adult students what they can and cannot wear? Does institutional autonomy include regulating personal attire? Is this about maintaining discipline and decorum, or does it cross the line into deciding how adults should express themselves? Those supporting the rule say every institution has the right to preserve its ethos. Professional spaces have dress codes. Take a look at courtrooms, they have dress codes. Corporate offices will demand dress codes. So why should a prestigious academic institution be any different? But those opposing it ask an equally valid question. Does academic excellence depend on whether someone's wearing trousers or someone's wearing shorts? And should an athlete returning from, let's say, morning practice be denied entry into the dining hall because of the shorts that he's wearing? And in a city that routinely touches 40 degrees, where does comfort fit into this conversation? So tonight, we're not debating just a pair of shorts. We're debating something much larger. Where should institutional discipline end and individual liberty again begin? Is this a reasonable code of conduct that's been put into the students' domain, or an unnecessary dressing policy? Let's put those questions to our panelists. K. Gopika Babu continues to be with us. Many thanks, Gopika. And Professor Vageshwari Deswal, Dayanand University, with us on the broadcast as well. Many thanks, Professor Deswal. I'm going to come to you. Again, giving the first voice to the student. When you joined your college, Gopika, did you expect that your college will tell you about what you can wear, what you cannot wear? Or should that decision be completely the students' as they're adults themselves? What's your opinion there?
I think there is no gray area in this. This is a question of bodily autonomy and the choice of clothing, and that should completely lie with an individual adult. And there's no institution that can encroach upon those sorts of rights that one has to choose what clothing that they wear. And this is nothing less than moral policing. Whenever there is DU is not immune to eve teasing, sexual harassment, catcalling. All of these routinely happen in DU, and there is no action whatsoever by the Delhi University administration. I, in fact, did my bachelor's in Miranda House, and right outside Miranda House gate, there's always a group of boys, always catcalling, always eve teasing. Multiple complaints registered with the nearby police stations, never an action taken. And again, you can see whenever such incidents happen, the first attack of the college administration is to go and attack the rights of the women students, tell them what they can wear, what they cannot wear, tell them where they can go, cannot go, and tell them at what time they can go and cannot go. So this is not new. This has always been happening, this sort of encroachment, and this is a new law.
If I may come in here, Gopika, you see, if a college can regulate shorts today, and we're talking about St. Stephen's, you gave us the example of Miranda House and what happens right outside Miranda House. I mean, one has to understand, where do we draw that line? Because who decides what is quote-unquote decent? And while you're answering that question, do you think moral policing is a fair description? Because you've got, frat houses in the Western universities, and, people are very, patriotic about the colleges and the frat houses that they belong to. If a college is trying to simply enforce their ethos, are they actually wrong in, enforcing a dress code? You go to, Okay, fine. I don't want to be taking names here, but there are dress codes for, specific business administration colleges. There is a dress code for, let's say, a sporting university. Is that totally wrong?
See, whenever there is a dress code for a professional institute, for example, you might be talking about a management institute that, would demand formals, or say for a law university that would demand black and white clothing. That comes from the culture of the profession they're being trained into. There, the case is different. Delhi University and St. Stephen's College is an arts college, and there is no technical requirement of a uniform. If there was a uniform, then of course the uniform should be enforced. But there is no uniform here, and there is nothing that goes against wearing shorts. There can be no, logical argument that can be given by the administration why they are in fact enforcing one. So I think there is no question of what the administration cannot decide, because clothing is something that an individual adult is entitled to choose for themselves.
You're saying
and
this
that
is
where
about
we should
bodily
be drawing the line.
autonomy, and there is no gray area here. Professor Deswal, every institution has its own ethos. We've been speaking to you about what happens in and around the Delhi College, what happens to the students' lives, and you've been a very vocal, opinionated person on that particular front. Do you think this very case, it warrants a discussion? Does that give the college the right to prescribe dressing standards for these adult students? Because, we've got Gopika, she's a student, and she says this is about bodily autonomy. And when you're in an arts college, if St. Stephen's was an MBA college, this would still be, justified, but not in St. Stephen's.
Here I'm totally with what Gopika is saying. See, you cannot be overly moralistic. This is the 21st century. And I would say even in the 19th century, colleges prescribing dress code, because as you said, there is an ethos. I agree. That could be acceptable. But when you are restricting one particular kind of garment, you say that you cannot wear shorts. Now, shorts come in all shapes and sizes. Multiple descriptions, unless and until there is an absolute clarity. I mean, can you restrict students from wearing Bermuda shorts, from wearing tailored shorts, or is it about cycling shorts, or is it about girls wearing those skirts come shorts which are known as skirts? And then if you say that you cannot wear shorts, so there is a restriction only on wearing shorts. Does that mean that you can wear pajamas to the classroom, you can wear night suits, or maybe you can wear mini skirts? I mean, that would all be permitted.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need to have a dress code, it needs to be well defined. I totally agree that you should not allow students from to wear shorts to laboratories.
But Professor, where does the college's own tradition come into play here? Some of those students, on the guarantee of anonymity, have come out and said that, this is an unsaid rule. It's an unwritten rule. We are discouraged from wearing shorts, and, that's something that we've upheld for years on end. Doesn't mean that it has to continue, but tradition has, and nostalgia and ethos, they play their own parts in a university.
So tradition, I mean, it has a persuasive value. You could have allowed the students to join. Maybe they would have themselves followed in the traditions. But when you put an absolute bar, you come out with an order that you cannot wear shorts. See the kind of retaliation it has evoked from the students. The very first day of college, and students, they've come in shorts. I mean,
And that's because of the circular. Yes,
it had to happen. I mean, you cannot allow any of these things to happen. And it is not only about girls or boys. See, had they said that maybe girls will not wear shorts, then again, we would have tried to defend that, see, they are trying to impose restrictions on girls. But now this is a blanket circular. It is talking about all students, no wearing of shorts. So unless and until it is more descriptive, more clarity as to what particular area and on what grounds are they being restricted from wearing shorts. I don't think this.
Or you could let that tradition seep into the next batch of students very organically, without the circular actually be coming out, and the seniors could have told their juniors to do that. I think that's a better way for a college tradition to play out. But Gopika, there are many students who say, look, we're for the no short circular. So what do you think would have been better here? The administration coming for a town hall, consulting all the students, maybe a referendum. You can vote whether you want shorts, whether you don't want shorts. Maybe that's more democratic. Would that have, sufficed and satiated all the new batch of students and the Gen Z out there?
I think the students who wish not to wear shorts, they can continue doing so. There's nothing stopping them for not wearing shorts. That's completely your choice. But you should equally give that choice to somebody who might as well want to wear. And that can be for multiple reasons. It might be for a sports tournament practice. It can be for, comfort per se in this weather. But being dictatorial about it or being authoritative about it will only what you'll get in response is pure defiance, and which happened with multiple people coming out wearing shorts, which might not have been the case had the circular not been enforced upon the students. So
Okay.
I think this high-handedness should be stopped by administrations and authorities. And Stephens is not the only college where this is being happening. There are multiple colleges, universities where such unsaid or said dress codes are being enforced, and mostly the onus of following those dress codes are always on women. It's this length of their sleeves that's always being judged. It's the length of their trousers or shorts that's always been judged, and it's always the onus is put on the bodies of women to enforce or to maintain the decency of a space.
Did you have similar restrictions
So
when you were, in Miranda?
never, which
Never.
is one thing I think the liberty and freedom that all girls college gives you, that you don't have to think twice before wearing anything. There is no judgments, there is nobody to
splendid.
judge you, there is no ogling eyes that will look at you. So I think all spaces should be like
That's
that
really
for
great to
women.
hear. But, I mean, I remember my college days, and, it's a time for a lot of validation. Social media was still just up and coming, not like we have it today. But I wanted to understand from your viewpoint, from the Gen Z viewpoint, it's the new keyword that's in today, clothing as a form of identity, clothing as a form of self-expression, especially during these college years.
Absolutely. I think from school till school, there's a lot of restrictions placed on you from your side of the family, from school, teachers, society at large. When you come out to a new city for your graduation, that also then gives you the freedom to develop your own personality. And in that personality development, a huge part of it plays in your self-expression. And a huge part of that self-expression is how you carry yourself and what clothes you wear. And for a lot of us, clothes are a way of expressing who we are, where we come from, what we stand for. And once you try to curb that, you're curbing a huge part of that personality development that starts during your formative bachelor's years. So I think this circular should be rolled back without any ifs or buts.
Very well said. All right. Professor Deswal, you see, universities should clearly be judged not by the clothes that the students are wearing, but by the education that they actually provide. But in our country, where campuses are becoming increasingly diverse, where technology is becoming increasingly diverse, and the Gen Z want their fair share of say and expression, should the dress codes also now evolve with the changing student expectations here? And considering this is, just like Gopika said, not an isolated instance. This is happening in a couple of those colleges out there. And why single out even Delhi University? Talk about all the universities across the length and breadth of the country.
Universities, these are places which are sometimes compared to melting pots and sometimes to a salad bowl in which you toss all sorts of students coming from different cultures across the world, and you throw them all together. Coming to dress code now, again, we talk about freedom of speech and expression. Now, expression is such an integral part of your personality, the way you want to present yourselves. And I believe universities should provide safe spaces to our students to develop their personalities and their freedom of expressions.
Absolutely.
Dress codes could be justified. See, if it is a placement day, we talk about a management college. Yes, of course, there are certain formal dress codes, certain attire that the students, they need to adhere to. I teach in a law university. Yes, of course. In our law school, the students have a dress code, but they wear it only when they have moot court competitions or when we have these kind of formal exercises, because that is a place which requires them to present themselves in a particular manner. But otherwise, how can you say that you cannot be wearing these kind of clothes? You cannot do that. I don't believe that it can be implemented. It was not right earlier. It is not right now. There was a law university where we tried to, I just tell you, there was this law college, and the director, he did not like the way the girls, they were turning up. It was in Gurgaon. So he said that let us impose a dress code for them throughout the week, white suits for girls and white shirts and black trousers for the boys. And the girls, they just took it upon themselves to fail that dress code. They picked up the most transparent of the clothes, of the, what we call as the fabric, then sleeveless, then we call as very extremely deep necks and all. And of course, within a week's time, the director was compelled to roll back that. Why? Because they said that it is not, that one particular dress, you say that this is vulgar.
Yeah.
Any kind of dress can be made to look vulgar, and it is just a dress. For God's sake, it is not a, yes, we need to stop judging our girls on the basis of the clothes which they wear. The fault is always
100%.
in the eyes of the person who judges the girl.
Absolutely,
not-
absolutely, ma'am. There's no, two ways about that, and let's not make any bones about that. Dress codes, it may regulate clothing, but they're also raising much bigger questions about who we are, about our bodily autonomy, like Gopika pointed out, and our institutional authority, and where that balance actually lies is the conversation that is worth having. Let's hope that this circular is rolled back at St. Stephen's, because not just that, it's also very hot in the national capital. I mean, shorts are comfortable. So that's something that, shouldn't be sidelined as well. Gopika, many thanks for taking out the time. I hope we get to see you more often here on News 9. And Professor Deswal, once again, many thanks for taking out the time and speaking to us here. All right, then, shifting our focus to the final segment on In Your Interest. And this does need your attention here, ladies and gentlemen, because what we're going to show you next are top Mumbai clubs that have symbolized privilege, exclusivity, legacy. These are places where memberships are so coveted, waiting lists run into years, and during the dining procedure, the luxury is considered